ラビです。今日は FNCS グローバルチャンピオンシップを鑑賞したいと思います。待って、藤場がちょっとね、これをね、昨日も見たんだけど、これないのかな？ちょっと入ってみます。中で入って見ることもできんだけど、みたいなんだけど、急遽配信でお願いしました。待ってね。オッケー。何起きてるのか。グローバルチャンピオンシップであってんの。あ、ここじゃないかな。ここじゃないや。どこ入っちゃった。間違えちゃう。失礼しました。ちょっと待ちに。少々お待ちを。昨日入ったところか。ちょっと待ってね。一発目から自分じゃった。昨日ね、入れたはずなんだけど、あ、これだこれ。これだこれ。オッケー。失礼しました。これ。みんなで応援しようで。中に入ってね、見れるんだけど、30分から昨日も見たんだけど、昨日ちょっとパソコンで中に入って見たんだけど、見れてなくて、どこに行ったら見えるの？多分こっちだと思う。こっちに行けば見えるかな。試合がね、やってるんだけど、始まってないよ。これ何？いるコナンさん。こんばんは。あれ、始まってないよ。犬が集まってる始まるから。あ、スクリーンも。あ、これフルで見る。ボタン押したみたい。今ちょうどやってるみたいなんだから。これ見えるのかな？始まんないじゃん。真っ暗の画面だよ。あ、これスキップボタンがあった。 待って。待って。これボタンが効かない。ボタンが効かないぞ。今ちょっと待って、なんかね、流れてるみたいな。変だけど。ちょっと待ってね。よいしょ、待ってよ。ボタンが効かなくていいの。どこで見れるのかな。これ見れる。ちょっとこっちに行ってみる。飛んで行ってみよう。こっちの方に行ってよ。22時から。ちょっと待って、昨日。今日も出遅れちゃう。どっちだっけな。あら。始まりじゃない。見てなら。プリンに。ここボタン押すと。プリンに移れちゃう。顔を。薄くて。見るが。四角ボタンの。時間かかるのかな。そう。もしかして入らなくちゃダメなのか。キッチンでもやってるみたい。始まらない。昨日も始まらなかったの。ぴったりじゃないと。ダメなのか。ちょっと待ってる今。結構待ったんだよ。もう手。今8。いつもじゃない。このスクリーンに流れるはずなんだけど。間違ってんのかな。20。このまま。もう始まってるみたいなんだよね。これ YouTuber さんの見てると。見遅れちゃったのかな。つくとかないかな。動画をみんなが集まったらどこかな。なんかどこ行く。あ、違うかった。始まんないな。で始まんないじゃん。昨日ね、 見てないぐらいここにいたんだけど、言わなかった。ここにいてみよう。このままちょっと流しとこう。から、VTuber 一周って状態で見て、ぜひチャットも入れてね。それではしよう。ちょっと一度入り直してみましょう。入れた。やってる。してみね。こっちから。待ってね。待って、この先で待ってるんだけど。
already seeing the mini map a little bit. You've seen it here. Bully in shadows.
来る来る。
Attention on trying to take that
おお、
engagement.
始まってる。
To try to get even more surge early on in the
大会。
game before the zone does get too small.
全国大会の。
Stacey and Poda side probably have the fan favorites
これ
on
見れ
their
るの。
side in the stadium. I hear them loud and
みたい
proud
なの今や
already, and they're trying
リアルタイム
to
で
use that energy
やっ
to
てるや
fuel
つら
them
のだけ
here
ど。
today. A little bit of a misstep on day one, but they're picking themselves up, dusting themselves off, and ready to put on a show.
Just because you stumble doesn't mean you fall, and it's got to be such an invigorating feeling knowing that you have so many fans in the venue just cheering for you every step of the way. It's not even like these guys are getting a piece of the action right yet.
これね。
They're just moving.
フル画面
And
で
you've got the French fans cheering
見
for
てみ
them.
ま
It's
しょ
just
う。
awesome to see that kind of display.
One of the best controller players in the lobby. Polarized, teamed up with Scented over on the other side. They're taking the split that in day one belonged to another team. It's probably part of their strategy.
Oh, it's
Use
good.
this to try to qualify. We'll figure it out later because that's the biggest things. At this
何
stage
言
in
って
the
るか
game,
分かんないけ
there's
ど。
no reason to save all your secrets
英語
for
わかんない
that
から。
championship Sunday because you have to be able to make it there. Mini Miner said it himself to open up the show because what good are those strategies? What good are those tricks underneath your sleeve if you're not able to use them in the biggest moments possible?
かわいい。
Trouble now.
1億だっ
Not
け
for Podesai just yet, kind of lurking
Yeah,
around this
he-
bush. He
sure.
knows that he's got a couple contenders down beneath him, and as for Shalom and MK Papa, they want to take their time. I mean, kind of tough to try and fight that uphill battle, quite literally. So instead, just continue to wait things out, wait for a better opportunity to look for a rotation out. It can be difficult as well when you're playing right here on the edge side of where these zone pulls are happening because, again, for Podesai, it seems as though the intent is just to prioritize positioning.
怪人が多いんだよね。
One team that changed their positioning overall to another. King, Phaser. You can already see they're over towards Shattered Slab. Zone is pulling all the way towards the eastern side of the map. They have a long journey to go, and you can even see it at the edge of Mega City here on Pinky. So they have even more rotations to go later on in the game. But for now, it's Batman, Booga, and Rapid who beat him to the punch. The top of the hill, just west of Mega City. And they immediately got out of Mega City because that's one of the things we talked about to start the show is how contested it actually is. They could easily take a building on top, but they're taking a little bit of the safer route or what they thought would be because right now, Pink and Vico are slowly but surely looking like they're going to try and sneak up and see if they have any opportunity to take over. But as you can see in the mini-map, they're going to choose to go the other way. It's not something they want to battle this early on in the game.
You can already see some shots, though, coming from a little bit of a distance here. Rapid just trying to be wary of his surroundings, and it makes perfect sense why you'd want to ditch from Mega City ASAP when there's 4 separate teams landing there. Again, it's just so much traffic to actually deal with, so why risk it when every single game is so important? I think for Rapid and Batman Booga, not necessarily getting max resources, max materials, it's not as bad as it might initially look because they can always find the refreshes after the fact because again, Storm Surge strategies were definitely an issue for a lot of teams in day 1. And this is day 2. It's not like the competition's gotten any worse.
Yeah, and you're seeing a lot of these teams taking that prime real estate to where they know players are going to rotate into. Deal. Seeing him go for the reboot card onto Mr. Savage, uncontested Northdown Nets. That's a no-brainer that he's going to get him back into the game, back up as a duo. But as you can see in the minimap, they are split up. They called out this strategy to start the game. They're trying to cover more ground. They're trying to take more space away. This also allows them to get better lines of sight around the map for their Storm Surge. They already know what has happened in the past when Storm Surge is lacking. It forces you to make plays. It's almost like you don't have control over the game, and they are trying to do their best to keep control of their own destiny.
It's definitely something that has haunted Mr. Savage and Vidil all chapter long. As far as Major 3 was concerned, even leading into that last chance Major, where we saw them switching up their drop spot even over to Drift Ridge, just because of the fact that Mr. Savage is mentioning he doesn't like to be contested. Sure, they got it uncon then, but it's still never easy whether you're unconned or contested, as far as establishing a solid storm surge strategy.
Yep, Fanayan and Moneymaker. Moneymaker probably one of our youngest players competing here today, showing that anything is truly possible as long as you have a chance, and they've given themselves just that, an opportunity on the biggest stage in the world when it comes to Fortnite. And you can already see the augment that he's choosing out. First Assault, Scope Salvo, two of the biggest ones that are needed when it comes to Storm Surge. It's going to allow them to keep their distance and keep hitting those shots.
Like seeing this from Kitos as well. We're talking about augments, but right now the prioritization's onto Snazy. And it's looking good. Trying to see if they can push forward in this box fight. Shots being taken by Podesai as well, just to even trade out so far. No real damage on either side just yet. But Yuma and Jaemon, they can definitely feel the pressure, and Podesai definitely aware of the fact that they've got more company coming.
We're already taking advantage of their positioning high up on the side of that mountain. Trying to third party take some shots onto both Pink and Vico, who took down Okus, adding more to their own storm surge. Weapons cache are going to be there, and you can see Yuma and Jaemon probably share that same weapons cache, so they're going to be forced to wait till Snazy and Podesai leave off of this spot to try to pick up the scraps, figure out whatever is left along. But a team that, you know, taking a lot of time towards Slappy Shores. My only question for them is, how is their surge? Because a lot of the teams are on the western side of the zone for now. They haven't begun to rotate over towards Slappy Shores. Not a lot of teams landing here right out of the gates. So for them, that's probably what's on their mind right now. We've loaded up. We've got everything we need. Now we just need Storm Surge.
And hey, we're talking about Storm Surge so often for Pink and Nico. This is going to be a massive contributing factor, getting that elimination onto Okus, just taking full advantage of that 2v1 situation. And that's something that's not necessarily going to be easiest to come by at this stage of the game. And for Rapid and Madman Booga, again, we revisit, we talk about the fact they left Mega City so early, and they just haven't managed yet to find that pressure situation to actually secure eliminations for the refreshes that they would like. And they don't necessarily have time to explore resources either, because there's other teams moving in at this point. There's other teams already establishing positioning off of earlier rotation. So if you trying to expend your time on resources, you're just going to keep getting lit up.
Yeah, and honestly, looking at 7-man's inventory now, you can already see they won the ball over towards Relentless Retreat, but it's a little unorthodox. Typically, you would grab something to pack a punch, whether it's a Sharp Tooth, an Infiltrator, or even a Maven, but he's going to go without it for now, hoping that mid-range Stinger does more than enough damage in a moment's notice to be able to survive. It all depends on how you control that recoil, honestly, because I remember that thing go brr.
It's so obvious that the intention, though, is that up close and personal battle. The question is, will they actually manage to force themselves into that type of situation? And Rift Island can definitely be a location where we'd expect those battles to come, but even all throughout day one, we hardly saw any sort of contestation over this Rift Island. Sending on the way up, though, definitely having some issues as far as maintaining his shields are concerned. Those are going to be completely depleted. Granted, they have ample shield potions to make up for it, but it's going to be Hen, it's going to be Bask actually looking to contest. They don't want to let this Rift Island objective points go for free.
If only they saw the damage that was put on both of these players before they even touched down on the island. Surely they would try to take advantage of it. And you can see one man's trash, another man's treasure. Mero and Cooper sneaking on the side, trying to take away the position. The French team of Snazy and Podesai also willing to contest this Rift Island. And that's one of the things I was thinking. It was very, very passive yesterday. Even solos were able to take it. But as the VOD review goes on, as time passes, players are going to realize there's nobody up there. But when everybody thinks the same, now we have 4 teams on top of Rift Island ready to battle it out. One of them, Hen and Vask, 141 above the damage threshold. They're going to be the ones to contain it, plus 15 points for them. And that's going to be huge because we already see teams qualify with those points of the objectives.
Every little bit counts, but we've gotten a good idea of what's been happening directly in game so far. However, the making battle is to give us a little bit more.
Thank you so much,
Marco.
Taco. I just want to catch
Ito
everyone
yung
up on
gagawin
our
mo.
hometown heroes of Steno and Lush, who were able to get an elimination on Mr. Savage before he even hit the ground. Then we saw Steno be able to find a key, which he used to unlock a
Yeah,
mythic
pero
shot.
sila-
Quickly, they regrouped,
Wala.
built up a surge tower, and as you can see, they have vision on two duos of Jamin and Kanata, setting themselves up for an excellent mid and late game. But let's see how they do.
Only time will tell to see how it pays
don't
off.
know,
They
Guru.
definitely got themselves a good
Mr.
spot in the
Green.
zone thanks to those plays.
And that's the thing too,
So
about
napaka-
those teams that are landing more towards the south side, it is so easy for other teams with slightly earlier drops to just pick you off with the elevation difference. It's
Naman
one
Chero.
primary issue definitely known about that naughty nets area.
Siya
but
na Sensio.
you can always expect to bounce back. I mean, we
Siya
already
rin
saw
niya.
the deal with the successful reboot ban onto Savage, so easy to say that anything can happen in these circumstances.
You can see it started at 181 above the damage threshold. Pamstu and Fatch slowly falling back down, climbing back up, trading shots back and forth. You have their eyes set towards Rift Island. They see a giant monument being built on top as
what's he
Polaroids
do?
actually took down Snazy up above. And this is going to be a huge opportunity for them as they're just looking around. Nobody's directly pushing up
What
onto
I'm
them,
gonna
even though they
say-
are split. They're just looking for these fights that are
just
already
mga-
underway and just trying to take
December.
advantage of it the best that they can. And just looking at the
Hindi
island
na
right
siya
now,
bigyan.
I didn't see Scented either.
Miro and Cooper are looking awfully vicious though in that position. You
Iya
can
ko
just
ni
tell
mo.
that they are waiting for the
Maybe
perfect
zero,
opportunity to strike, and it's got to be only a matter of time. They can tell that there is so much chaos already unfolding on top of this Rift Island. Teams are just constantly under pressure, both outside and right here directly at the Rift Island. But for Vask and for Hen, again, you have to remember, they're the ones who actually secured the capture point here. So they've got some decent loot to go with it. And Miro and Cooper, if there was ever a time to try and take down another team and, you know, get plenty of refills as far as your materials are concerned and your weapons, that is definitely the opportunity.
Yeah, elimination feed is lighting up. A lot of players being forced to interact with each other thanks to that storm surge. Seeing Vortex go down. Even Duke's trying to rise to the occasion here today after his performance yesterday, trying to qualify for the FNCS Global Championship Final tomorrow. Jamon goes down. Yuma's going to have to leave him behind, but he's only 72 above the Storm Surge threshold, but now he's becoming the focus of multiple teams in this lobby right now. It's not looking good. HP is going to be down low. Shields are going to be ripped off, and the shots continue. Finally, though, he does have a short moment to breathe, but that's only going to give him enough time to pop one Mimi. The Shalom and MK Pop are over on the other side. They probably know that he's a solo. They saw him crash land in with that rocket ram, and this is something that they're trying to take advantage of.
For Shalom and MK Papa, they've just been playing bouncer responsibility on this edge of zone, and granted it just moved in a little bit tighter, but for Yuma, now you can see him starting to get lit up by some of that storm surge. Accountability as far as your surge strategies are concerned, it can be very difficult to maintain it throughout because there is just so much action happening as some of the congestion builds along this edge of zone and teams needing to move even further in. Players like Yuma are bound to get caught out on those later rotations.
Yeah, you can see they're even willing to risk it. Shalom and MK Papa, they got the elimination, or at least they saw it towards the backside of zone, but they didn't have very many materials at all. So it was almost an all or nothing situation if they want to keep as best chance as possible for them to try to stay alive. I see a Vico. I don't see Pink. Got to imagine he is by himself as a solo, and he's suffering to surge right now. 13 below the threshold. Now he's in zone. Everything crumbling down. Only a few seconds to try to land a shot that matters, and he's not going to be given that opportunity. Down goes Pink. Down goes Vico.
But a massive pickup there for Yuma. Still utilize that rocket ram to try and close the gap even further and make sure that he's maintaining a decent distance on that backside of the zone. Kanata, meanwhile, next to Agers, trying to be vigilant with his awareness. And again, so many teams just trying to keep tabs on where everybody else is in the lobby. And players like Bing, there are a decent amount of pressure here, but they will manage to prevail. Nicely timed shots, nicely placed aim as well with that sharp tooth to ensure that they can acquire that elimination.
Yeah, and since he got eliminated altogether, you gotta imagine Moneymaker went down earlier on in this same game. We saw Polarize, the one that took down Snazy, leaving Podesai by himself. At least he's above the damage threshold for now, but quickly falling below. Now he knows he's going to have to try to find and catch somebody off guard, because otherwise he's going to have no choice but to try to get in the box, slowly but surely biding his time, trying to make sure that he makes the right play. And this is an opportunity for him to really rise to the occasion by himself, and with Storm Surge shutting off for now, that at least allows him to breathe, restabilize himself in that position. Edgy goes down outside of zone. It wasn't a knock, so Duke and Edgy are also out of this game. Action is moving so fast, and we're not even into the placement points yet.
The zone pull, a little bit brutal for some of these teams as it just keeps getting closer and closer to that edge side. And again, for Agers and Kanata, as we get another opportunity to see from where we last left off with them. Kanata's got to be careful with his rocket ram on the landing. So many teams, and right on the side of this hill. It can be difficult. He's trying to work his way back up already. Fully understanding the fact that he doesn't want to have to play from the low ground, but he'll be forced to take shelter, utilize some of his Memnis. Unfortunately for him, only has those mini shield potions, won't actually get an opportunity to get full shields. And for Agers, this is even worse.
Yeah, he only has 23 HP, doesn't have time to sit back. Nice shot's gonna be fired. That is a huge siphon and refresh for Agers, because now he's boosted up in the mats. He has a little bit more HP to work with. The flopper, the med kit he can use in game, and if him Kanata can find a way to reunite, he has the minis and another knock onto QNDX. Agers doing what he did in their championship run. The siphon's gonna be picked up, but he has to get to zone. This is a 5-tick. Time is running out, and another Menmith. Miracle upon miracle landing in the palm of Agers' hands.
He's trying to do what he can to get it across, but this hill phase is just so problematic. Still, the Menmis plus the med kit, he just doesn't have the mobility that he'd be hoping for. With so many teams having already pushed in, he might just barely make it in the nick of time. He's got to find another site.
Wow.
But even just far is more than enough.
I feel like I heard him on stage. Don't worry, Kanata, I'm coming. Don't worry. Medkit being used, minis being dished out, and they are back into the game. The resurgence from day one as we get a replay from Clicks and Epicwell. One of the biggest teams ever in this game. They get aggressed on the Storm Surge, and they shine bright. Storm Surge is not a problem from them as they pick up 2 eliminations.
Check out where Bryce and Chubbs are at, a little bit more isolated than some of these other teams that are trapped inside of all this congestion. Mr. Savage and Badil, though, from Raxel Richards to this game, they have done a decent, if not a phenomenal job at putting themselves into a comeback situation.
Some of these teams who were asking, do you got what it takes to get your ticket onto the battle bus? What about the roller coaster this team is going through from down the mountain, across the rivers, over towards Naughty Nets? I think best case scenario, honestly, Taco, is it going south, continuing on towards that island. If it goes back on over to the west, this is going to be a nightmare for anybody that doesn't have mats, as Clicks is using the last little bit that he does have left, but he finds another elimination on the ping.
These perfectly timed rotations from Clicks, managing to find these players who are looking to just find that final push inward. But again, this is the beauty of being able to play from that backside of the zone. Still, Clicks, Epic trying to be careful, and we are getting a little glimpse here of a team that's momentarily on high. Whether or not Fishy and DMK are going to be able to hold this is a different question entirely, but for the time being, they look well situated to carry themselves into the top 10 at least.
Even though they have high ground now, they might have to wait for some of those teams below them to try to build. That allow them to save some resources, save some mats, and make their way across the roster once more. Podesai, 131 below the damage threshold. Only a big pot to his name. So right now he's peeking through the cone. He's trying to just get as much information as possible. Where can I get this damage? But time is running out. He continues to fall well below that threshold as Savage picks up another elim. Badil goes down, but it's actually Epicwell who falls to Mr. Savage, trying to keep himself alive. Storm Surge isn't a worry, but it's the HP, it's the zone that's pulling away.
So unfortunate though, Savage gonna be unable to do anything in terms of helping out the deal. Simply has to watch and wait, continue their run That flopper though, along with the crash pad.
わざ使ってる。
Into the zone. Mr. Savage moving through all the traffic, eating shots as well, but doesn't care in the slightest. He's just continuing to push forward. He's making his own path through.
It's not going to be the most healthy anybody in the lobby can be, but he's definitely going to give himself enough wiggle room to work with. His clicks now going to be probably one of the more prolific solo players in the game. He finds it on the hand, but unable to finish it up. He gets taken out by Podesai.
Podesai as well. The fact that he's managed to stay this far into the game as a solo, you just know that he's going absolutely insane right now, trying to keep the run alive. Rocket Rams as well, destroying so many builds in the process. These players continue to rotate through, but that materials refresh is going so far, and it's actually Bryce and Chubbs now at the top of the lobby, but builds running incredibly low.
Yeah, multiple top 10 performances in the major this year. I think Bryce and Chubbs are one of the teams that are falling under the radar. They're ready to make a statement, just like Command, but he runs out of time, he runs out of space, he goes down, and Tremendous runs dry.
Nada. Another mini. Going to be popped. The patience. It's so hard to be patient through all this chaos as well. It's so easy to get distracted and think, okay, this is the perfect time to strike. A drop down to the low ground here for Kanata. Recognize the fact that he's got some players directly above him. Still has a shield potion that he can utilize. Source, on the other hand, won't make it. Cooper goes absolutely nuclear with the back-to-backs here. Cooper just won't let it go. Actually got it.
I thought it as well. I thought Cooper just stole away the game, but it's Bryce and Chubbs. I call them one of the most underrated teams falling under the radar this weekend. They played phenomenally to make it to this point, and they make a statement here in game one of the lower bracket. Frankie, how are they feeling?
How are you feeling? I mean, my friends up in the casting booth would like to know, so I will ask you first, Bryce.
I'm feeling good.
Are you feeling a little bit overwhelmed about the fact that you just took a victory royale here on land in Copenhagen?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Well, I can understand why you might be nervous. I do have a very scary face, so I'm going to come over to you, Chubbs. Talk me through the last moments of that game.
I don't know. We just took high and we won.
You took high. Talk to me about the journey there. Did you feel like the zone was in your favor the whole time?
No, it wasn't at all.
Okay, well, how did you get around that situation then? How are you able to make the most of what maybe wasn't the most ideal situation?
Just, we got surge and we had forecast, so we just went where the zone was.
There you go. Simple. Everyone hopefully listening here will find out how to win a victory royale on land thanks to these two. Just before I let you go, do you think you can overcome the nerves and pick up another victory royale today?
Yes, I think we can.
Brilliant. Well, you know what? Now you've said that, I think you can too. Copenhagen, please give it up for Bryce and Chubbs.
You know, I thought the games yesterday were crazy, but game number one of the lower bracket does not disappoint. Bryce and Chubbs taking forecast, using that to just help them get ahead of the storm, even though they were in the toughest spot. It didn't matter. They were able to adapt. Yes, there's some nerves, but they overcame.
I love that interview, right? Getting asked, hey, you feel like the zones were in your favor? No, they weren't. I don't think they were in anybody's favor. I mean, a zone pulling over to Naughty Nets and then pulling back to the mainland. That was a roller coaster of a ride. But Bryce and Chubbs, they found the high ground in the end, and they made it work.
I mean, these guys land all the way to the north of the map, even more north than Creaky Combat, so high up there. Of course, as they mentioned, they had the forecast, which helped them get the step ahead, and I really love the way they took flight right there. A little rocket ram play to knock out Towels and Fishy, who were up there for seemingly a long time in that end game, and from that point on, they were just riding out all of their materials, all of their heals. I think at one point there in that end game, I think I saw Bryce with a fishing rod. You know when you're carrying a fishing rod in the last zone? Things are looking rough, but it didn't work out too bad.
Absolutely. Game one here on day two, the victory royale. I'm sure for them, they're feeling a little overwhelmed, and now they just got to bring it back. More of what you do in game number two. Now let's take a look at these standings. I want to see how this went. Now, of course, there's actually so much to talk about. Really quickly, let's highlight the duo in second place there. Cooper and Miro, we saw Chubbs and Bryce. It almost could have gone the way of Cooper, but riding as a solo rider, still a second place after the first game. That is a way. We hit the ground running.
Yeah, I'm really, really glad you brought these guys up because yesterday wasn't too great, Cooper and Miro, and I love the way that Cooper played that endgame. Such a clutch moment for him. When these guys got together, wait, Miro is playing with Cooper? This up-and-coming player, Miro himself, and I think Cooper has just proved why he deserves to play with Miro, a player of his caliber. He's clutching in the big moments on the big stage, and it didn't quite work out in a victory royale for them, but what a start. That's the exact start we want to see from them to improve on yesterday.
I gotta point out though, it was close, right? Cooper finding the one knock, I was like, wait, it's doable. For a second, I think he would have found that other rhythm and clutched it up.
Mad close. Another thing we have to highlight, Aderson Kanata being uncontested. Man, the way they navigated that last little bit of endgame there, I just love how kind of brave Kanata went. Like, I don't know if brave's the right word, maybe just like crazy, right? Like, let's just rocket ram on the side of this kind of cliff and we'll just see what we find. But once again, man, you're gonna do what you have to do, and for him to have this start, this is the surge we need.
You're gonna say, oh, the way that they traverse the endgame. No. Kanata solo clutch, but let's not forget, Agers had his own just right before this and actually made his way all the way to Kanata. So it was almost like they were kind of like passing the torch, right? It's like, oh, okay, I done solo clutch, now you go ahead and get us a couple more points, third place, and look at the top four. Look at the representation at the top of the leaderboard right now.
I mean, they're doing good. Good to see. I like it. You know,
it's
very good. I mean, we still have time. 4 more games to go, right? I have big expectations of people like Janice and Reason. Even, can I remind you, who took control of the island in that last game? Was it an EUGO? Yes, it was. I'll give you the answer straight away. And that was something that I was really surprised at as well, that island contestation.
Yeah.
So many more teams went up for it, it seemed like, but no one wanted to go all the way and try and claim it. It was Hen and Vasquez who ended up saying, you know what? This is ours. It doesn't matter about anyone else. I think everyone else kind of like half went for it and think, you know what? I'm getting off this.
What's odd though is like, yes, for like one moment, right? They're right next by, or right next door. And then suddenly it's like, you've got Stacey Podesai rifting on up. You've got people kind of hopping over old builds. But why did no one want to take this fight, right? If we're all going to take and burn our resources or do whatever we have to get up there, why didn't we just give that to them for free?
You know, me and Minnie, we were watching sort of the west side of that zone, and there were so many teams that actually ended up being contested on that side of the zone, which means that all of these teams that were actually up on the Rift Island, they were happy with their position because they were getting free damage, right? Free shots off on so many teams below them. So why would you go ahead and take the fight? I mean, sure, you know, the capture point is worth those 15 points, but when you can get that much surge and actually traverse it into the end game, you might as well take that opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. And we were speaking about these sort of storm surge strategies. We often see teams build storm surge strategies depending on how the lobby works. Who's landing where? How can we rotate and get as much damage as we can? These guys haven't had very long at all to prepare for this, right? They haven't had time at all. So I'm expecting some more drama in the next few games.
Absolutely. And why don't we hear from the players themselves? They have their own thoughts on mid-match objectives. Take a look.
The mid-match objectives are really important towards the game.
That could be the difference between you winning and you getting top 5.
Big risk sometimes, but if you're good at fighting, it will make the game so much more easier.
For the first objective of the game, the forecast tower, there's a lot of reward. I mean, you get 2 slurps, a gold AR, and you can see the future zones.
Você pega uma torre que ela prevê a safe, né? Então, isso é uma vantagem tipo ridícula.
電波塔は取ったら1位取れるぐらい重要です。
If we see that it's not a big risk, then we go for it.
It makes the game so much more easier if you get it.
But there's definitely a risk, and you might lose all your mats, your heals, and you might even get eliminated.
The Rift Island made the game more interesting for the teams that are going into endgame and know they don't have a lot of loot.
It makes the game more aggressive.
The risk is that many people go for it because of the points. It can be up to like 8 to 10 people on one island all fighting in one really close area, and it gets really hectic. The fights at the mid-match objectives are going to be intense because of the high reward, but it can be the downfall of some players if they get eliminated.
It gives you max mats, it gives you everything that you need to win the game. The sacrifice is that everyone can see you if you're up there.
It's a finals lobby and people are probably going to be scared to go for it.
towards the later games, like when people really need that jump, if they're trying to place as high as possible, the reward will be a lot higher, but the risk is also be a lot higher. So we'll see how it turns out.
命をかけて電波とはいもう
Those 15 points could just make or break your entire game.
And that could be the difference between 10,000, 100,000, even 500,000.
Se você ganhar o campeonato, você muda a tua vida, literalmente.
So it's definitely something to prioritize and something that we're looking to play for as well.
The two takeaways. Forecast Towers willing to put their lives on the line for it. And if you get the Forecast Towers, you're probably going to end up like Bryson Chubbs there in game number 1, finding their first victory royale of the day.
Yeah, and they got 3 points for it, even though it was Hen and Vasquez that were able to get the 15 for Rift Island. That's just showing overall how important it is to plan around these things, but also have a plan B just in case things go wrong. But the right thing is game number 2, and it's about to start now.
Game 1 did not disappoint in the slightest. Game 2, I expect to deliver all the same, if not more. As these teams, some of them getting a little bit of a taste of what that 50-50 contest is like at the start, but we definitely saw plenty of teams taking things relatively slow, really just trying to prioritize their resources off rip. But for FKS, Adapter, they want all of Kinjitsu to themselves. Suns nearly eland on the drop, and yet Suns and None just barely gonna manage to get out of this one.
Yeah, and it almost looks like they want to chase him down. They're over wondering, was that bush there before? Is that something new? Shots got fired through. Just a sliver of HP left. He finally gets knocked down. Forget Luton when we could pick up these early game eliminations. That kind of leaves Anon all by himself, but luckily he was able to get across to the other side of Kinjitsu's crossing, but the timer is on. He only has a certain amount of time before he can get that reboot card back. Luckily, those Suns hasn't been fully eliminated just yet, so the timer actually hasn't started just yet.
But surely Anon knows Suns merely being toyed with at this point by Adapter and FKS. FKS will finish off that elimination. Wants to collect the Siphon and the 4 elimination points to go with it, but meanwhile, Hall of Whispers could definitely see some action here. Depends on how Yuma and Jaemon actually want to play it out. Right now, Yuma, Jaemon doing their best to just try and get some materials going, because you can't really have a box fight if you don't have any boxes to build.
Yeah, and it looks like Moneymaker and Fnayan not wanting to push up just yet. They're still getting things going, waiting for it to flow. Clicks and Epic Well over on the other hand. Mega City, they had a phenomenal first game. They sit inside of the top 25 after 1 game. If they can keep this pace going, we will see them on the Grand Finals Championship Sunday. Only time will tell though, because they're actually split up right now. They are so far split to do different buildings of Mega City. Zazie and AIM, Batman Booga and Rapid are the 2 other teams. Nobody really wanted to push and contest just yet, but Moneymaker and Fnayan just end up going down low to the low ground, getting chased by Jaemon and Yuma, backed up into a corner. Very little options to work with, and this is exactly what you were talking about. These bog fights, they need materials in order to be able to come out on top, because eventually, if you didn't farm up as much in the early game, you will run out quick, and that's when they'll strike.
Just seems as though Yuma and Jaemon, they've got their prey perfectly trapped here. Fnayan, Moneymaker, this is quite a sticky situation. Backs literally against the wall here. Might have an opportunity. Moneymaker does have that rocket ram available. Keep in mind the height that it can cover, but at the same time, Fnayan as well, but they'll still be relatively exposed. If they do try to utilize these rocket rams, there is still a chance that Jaemon or Yuma might potentially look to take them out here.
See them using the EMP grenades, trying to just at least sniff off some of the shields. Not very many left in their back pocket. Snazy, Bodasai over on the other side of the map. Looting up pretty safely. Not too many teams contesting them. Maybe one north of Shattered Slabs. You know, King and Phaser are over on towards their left, and a double contestation on their south towards Relentless Retreat. And they're kind of using all the time that they have to their advantage. That way they can have these safe rotations. That way they have an opportunity to play out. And they're going to be one of the first teams rotating out of that side. And Taco, I think we've seen this strategy before. FHD and Hero might be doing something that only one region has done so far on the weekend.
Zagu and Feppo are somewhat of an inspiration, one might say, as far as this strategy is concerned. I mean, you can see Bing trying to crawl away here, but that's just not going to be a possibility. The damage is being farmed. We talk about surge strategies all the time, and hey, if it works, it works.
Right now, he's got to be able to capture the other one, but it does look like Gon was able to kind of get his teammate eliminated. No free surge for you anymore, and he's hoping they move off that spot so that way he can get the reboot card back, get his teammate back into the game like we saw so many times in Game 1. And we saw how fruitful it was on those reboots. They were able to get far into the game and kind of make it worth their while to go for such a risky attempt at that. Kaizen and Clement split up, looting up, safe as can be. But Hen is doing the same thing, and nobody is nearby, at least for now. But the zone is going to force these guys over towards the east, maybe a little bit towards the north, so eventually they're going to run into some problems.
Hey, look, we talk all the time about players splitting off from each other, looking for opportunities. One might be prioritizing farming out resources, the other looking to try and secure as many surge tags as possible. But when you are this far apart from your duo, you have to be certain that you are not going to have some unexpected companies spring up on you, because if that's the case and you're not able to actually provide that backup that you would like, it could be a very quick downward spiral before you have a chance to recover. King and Phaser, on the other hand, though, they're just looking to stick together. Death and Tahi, looks like they wanted this fight.
It's a bird, it's a plane, no. It's just Death and Tahi trying to go up and over King and Phaser. Didn't work out. They land right at the top of that mountain along with them. Shots going through the build for Phaser. Him and King, they've already had their chance yesterday to qualify. And not very many people get these second chances, and they're hoping to not waste it and let it dwindle away. And they're actually separated. They're almost box to box with their opponent with very little space in between. And this is where the strategy, formulating some sort of a plan, maybe a little bit of a bull rush to try to take them out while they're separated, while the strength in numbers is high.
This goes for both duos. You can't get too distracted and tunnel in on one unless you are certain that your time to elimination is going to be fast. Other teams already starting to take note of this battle that started to break out just outside of Shattered Slabs. And for Death and Tahi, King and Phaser, well, they've got a couple more problems than just each other to deal with right now.
All around the map, players are trying to rotate to some high elevated positions, grab their spot in zones so that way they can look back, try to hold people out. And already you're seeing where these players are positioned at towards the northeastern side of the zone. They're kind of hoping it goes over towards Brutal Bastion, maybe even Sanguine Sweets, something that they can work with so they can hold their spot and gatekeep these players out. But Pixie, you can see him just putting some shots, not finding too much success, but he's not giving up very many shots either. But Vico is down. Now it's Pink's turn to try to hold 10 toes down. Nice shot, nice knock. Has to reload though. The mistake has happened, but he makes up for it. Pink stays alive, but there's still another player, a whole nother team hot on their heels, not wanting to let anybody survive in this position. This is what you call a phenomenal third party, but Pink wastes no time trying to disengage. He's trying to get out, and you realize Shalom and MK Papa, they're not going to be on the chase. They're just going to get the spoils of this battle and collect all that loot as if it was their own.
Pink definitely already got what he was looking for, though. Vico's reboot card on top of some initial materials to build with for his escape there. Nice utilization of the crash pad as well, just not trying to waste any further time. He already secured the clutch that he needed to for his teammate, and it's definitely early enough that he could certainly look for a reboot opportunity there onto Vico. We'll have to check back in with them later on. And as far as Polarized and Censored are concerned, again, it's not uncommon to see players willing to just look for these surge tag opportunities, build up a little tower temporarily close to their initial drop spots, try and see if they can tag anybody else who might be in the middle of their loop path. But as far as Polarized is concerned, when there's a push at the top of a building, and you know that building's not initially supposed to be there, Jacob, players are usually gonna box up around themselves while actually moving.
Yep. at least you know they're sticking to the game plan. They know teams got to rotate in that position. Eventually, Perza gets tagged up, trying to refarm as much as possible. His teammate doing the same thing. They get themselves a sliver of the zone just on the edge. They can easily move forward to try to get more position inside, so that way they don't fall behind everybody else. In a lobby like this, that's not what you want to do. But down goes River. Skid's trying to make up for it. His teammate's very low HP. He's trying to give him time to breathe. The elimination and the siphon's going to go through, but it goes to Skids, who already was full health. River's trying to battle back with a little bit of that high ground, but he goes down all the same. Skids and Soraf are able to stay on top in that exchange, and now they get so much loot for their efforts.
5 eliminations, by the way. Already 20 points collected for Skits and Sora. If you add that with a relatively decent placement, and these guys could be having the game to really mark themselves on the leaderboard. But the fact that they've already seen so much action, I'm curious as to how well it's going to translate in terms of how well they're going to be able to prioritize their positioning, because you have to expect that their surge damage is definitely well above the threshold.
Yep, and phenomenal performance to start this day. Didn't really go their day yesterday, but if first you don't succeed, you try again. Fully in Shadow, you saw them kind of contested. You can see that North America has won 4 of the 6 matches played this weekend. NA is showing that maybe it's not as EU strong as it once was at the Invitational, but this is only the first 2 days. We haven't received or played in the grand finals on Sunday just yet. Things can change because we know the EU region likes to go ahead and VOD review. They like to practice. They like to save some of those secrets, if I may say so myself.
Still, NA definitely looking like a decent amount of Lanimals for the time being, and kind of Nagers hoping to keep that trend going. Keep in mind their day one certainly did not go the way that they would have hoped by any means. But the fact that they've even made it this far is already a testimony to the fact that day 2 was definitely looking better than yesterday's.
You can see how well it's going for them. This time around, Kanata and Agers off the drop, uncontested, but quickly moving around. With the zone pulling towards the east side yet again. It's only a wonder what happened and why they made an opposite decision of what they made last game. But I trust them. They're the ones who made it here. I'm the ones just in the stands. Kaizen and Clement, they're not too far off where Kanata and Adrian once just were. They're trying to hope. I think right now the strategy is to get as much surge as possible with a lot of teams that are rotating in from the south, that are rotating from the western side. And that way they could probably rotate later on in the game. They could probably be one of the first ones now that they don't have to worry about it. But for now, they're just getting their loot cache. Just trying to go ahead and shield up and ready for this next rotation as Zazie does go down the top of Mega City. He gets surrounded by both Source and Yumi. And Aim's the one that's trying to disengage. In the distance, another team on top of Mega City just trying to get their surge themselves. He has plenty of heals to work with. My only worry is going to be that men miss the HP because Zone is going to be pulling forward. So he only has enough time for so much.
This array of heals, though, that Aim just keeps conveniently strolling through. You almost have to wonder if this was initially somebody else's base center over at Mega City. I mean, when you have several different teams that are choosing to prioritize landing there, you have to expect that players are going to be trying to accrue as many of those shield potions as possible, so that way they can maintain a good height positioning to look for those earlier surge attacks. So definitely convenient for Aim. Not so much so here at the Creaky compound, though. Noxy Crisp under a decent amount of pressure. Head down overview, but it's going to be Shalon and MK Papa that are making the first strikes.
You see they're fighting over that weapons cache, and Noxy and Chris, that third party, is like a fly at a picnic, just buzzing around, just taking some damage, forced them to kind of disengage off the fight that they were trying to be the aggressors on. And for Shalom and MK Papa, this is their chance here. They have the opportunity with so many extra heals there. They're already in zone. They could keep that base as theirs. Look elsewhere for Surge. Spot some teams trying to go for Rift Island. You saw them flying through the sky like majestic eagles. King and Phaser are trying to be one of the first ones there. They almost get beat to the punch by Moneymaker. And down goes King.
He's 100% beat them to the punch, along with F9. Those two probably not going to waste any time as far as trying to actually base up around that capture point on the Rift Island. They'll also have the convenience of being able to get that overhead view of all these teams underneath. As far as MK Papa is concerned, though, able to spot out another player across the way. It's going to be Miro. And Miro, Cooper, we saw them last time, kind of hovering around this Rift Island. They know that there's going to be a decent amount of players kind of taking note if we're basing it all off of how game one went so far. And with that in mind, Miro and Cooper, they definitely were able to get some tags in the process.
Nobody really contesting Rift Island this time around. Looks like it could be a possible 15 free points for Moneymaker and Fnayan. They're going to secure that underneath their belt and all the loot that does come with it. Hen and Basque were the other team in game one to make that one come true, but this time things have gone a whole different way. They're below the Storm Surge threshold, slowly falling farther down. 63 below though with nice shots. And to Basque, he got the rocket ram out. He wants to finish and clean up some of those shots, but it's King and Phaser over on the other side, and he's ready to have a crash landing. First one goes in, second one lands right next to him, but a couple of shots land onto Hen on his way there. That's gonna slow things down just a little bit, and that could be a blessing in disguise for King and Phaser, because now they have a chance to stabilize.
That's the problem as well for Hen and Basque. I mean, you spot a great opportunity to actually look for an elimination process, and yet on the way over, you're immediately lit up. There's just no such thing as a free rotation in these types of lobbies. But for King and Phaser, that little moment of breathing room might be all that it took. As they look to continue playing through the backside, King's gonna find a good left side peek opportunity. Doesn't necessarily connect though like he would have wanted onto Hen, but Hen and Bash, they're under enough pressure as is. It's Moneymaker, keep in mind, he was the one at the top of Rift Island. Seems as though Moneymaker and Fnayan, they're ready to play with everybody else on the bottom.
Yeah, they thought they had the line of sights in their favor to where they were directly under Rift Island. Somehow Moneymaker did find that angle. Like I said, it just takes some time for a player like him to try to heat up. As Hen's now stuck by himself. Luckily thing for him is he's above the damage threshold for now, but he knows that is right around the corner. It's gonna be haunting him like it's Halloween. Check a little bit of a replay here. Way trying to put the pressure onto both Bully and Shadow. Bully gets knocked first. That might even be 7-man trying to steal the loot away.
That is so tough for Bully and Shadow. They're just pincered between two separate teams. I mean, how are you really meant to box fight when you've got multiple directions that you have to be checking for against multiple teams? Definitely not the way that Bully would have hoped to go down, but as far as Way and YKZ are concerned, they're definitely happy with that collection of an elimination. Now continue trying to press their way forward. Seems that they're trying to avoid some other players in the process. Gotta be wary though at all times.
Clicks and Epic well. Quickly rotating out of Mega City this time around, or at least in comparison to their competition that does land over on that side. Firing shots off into the distance, and then instantly closing the cover. Doesn't want to get caught out, even though he wants Surge. He doesn't want to give up any free Surge either. And you can see Pink, he escaped almost getting eliminated early on in this game, and he found a way to get Vico back, but it came as a cost, Taco. They're below the damage threshold when it comes to Storm Surge. Luckily for them, it's only 6. That is barely anything. They just got to breathe on another team, and now they're hot on the heels of Batman Booga. This is the opportunity that they're trying to take in order to climb above the threshold before they fall too far below.
It definitely won't take much for Pink and Vico to get themselves above that damage threshold, but at the same time, I'm looking more so at their materials. Not very many builds for Vico to work with, and again, that's largely due to the fact that they had to go for that remove ban opportunity. They didn't actually have the time to look to farm up as well as they would have liked, given the pressure they're under earlier. Vico, he's also going to eat too much damage in the process. They're trying to make it into the edge of zone, but it's just being safeguarded by so many teams already set in place.
Wow, nice shot from Pink onto Rapid. The Batman Booga there to save the day, and instantly going for that revive, judging by the slurp juices as well. Waste no time to heal on back up as fast as possible. And that allowed them to get Surge, even if they might not have necessarily needed it. But from one team down below Surge to another, Clement and Kaizen, but they're in a whole different situation because their Surge is now active and they're taking so much damage, and all the heals have finally been used. So time is running out. Lucy goes for a Pink. Nice shot's going to be landed. Even he is below Surge. These are two teams below Surge going at it. Clement tries to go ahead and bull rush into the box. He gets denied that opportunity. Lucy with only 20 damage to do. They box up Clement. They get that elimination and a huge amount of damage to boot.
It was just a moment of desperation there from Clement, but what other options do we realistically have? And even for Steno and Lucy, they collect that elimination, and it's still just barely going to be enough to put them above that damage threshold. This lobby is moving and not in the direction that they would have hoped.
Well, this time around, you see a lot of players, even if they're above, it's not by much. It's not a feeling of comfortability whatsoever. But they know these opportunities will continue to come later on in the game. Kaizen is able to do some damage before falling. Almost taking down Lushi. Steno there to save the day as well. 27 above though. Slowly but surely climbing. But 98 in a lobby like this isn't much at all. But they have to just take it one step at a time. One foot in front of another.
Suns and Anand though. The fact that they're still making this work after how this game had started off for them is definitely some pretty good stuff here. Saw them talking about it earlier on socials. They're going to put Oshi on the map. And that seems to be the intent here in game number 2. But first, they've got to make sure they're able to acquire the position that they need to be in the first place.
Ooh. It's no bueno. Ooh. Storm Surge and Mr. Savage and Vidil targeting them together. Gapter's going to fall. FKS just using as much heals as he can, but Vidil and Mr. Savage, they don't want to let these 4 points and all that loot go out of their way. They're just trying to push themselves into the box, leave no option for their opponent. He's doing what he can to dance around, but the elimination is going to go through regardless. Even though they did take some damage along the way, they've got some heals, the exotic slap splashes to try to get themselves back up to tip-top shape. And they're going to need it. This rotation is going to be far. We're going over towards the side of Brutal Bastion. For some teams that are already there, it's going to be easy. Everyone else, good luck to you.
Working your way up elevation is certainly pretty dangerous type of pathway. Snazy and Podesai, though, they look like they're set in a decent spot for the time being. Crash Pad going to take them a little bit further in. Coming up on the backside here of Duke and Fishy. Just keeping in mind some of the teams that they're working their way behind. Podesai and Snazy. It looks as though they want to get aggressive here, but instead Podesai has to rethink. Doesn't want to use that crash pad forward just yet after taking such huge damage from behind.
Goes for a cheeky edit. Bounce pad junior play. It costs him a lot of HP along the way. Snazy, who didn't have any bounce pads, choosing to use the first of 3 rocket rams to try to find a safe spot in zone. Leading the way. This could be a good call for them as Podesai finally catches up. The loot is going to be dished around, but you can see the last of their heals. They are running low, so for them, a refresh is imminent. It is going to be needed, and you see Agers by himself as well below the threshold. Kanata fell not too far, not too long ago, but there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders, pressure that he's felt before in their major run, trying to capitalize on it. The time is running out. Storm Surge doing so much damage. He's going to be in the same position as the other teams that we've seen. He's using a lot of heals just to stay alive. Even if it's not Storm Surge, that's Snazy and Podesai on the other side.
Storm Surge seems to be Ager's biggest opponent right now, because as long as he's given the opportunity to connect, those shots are going to put him exactly where he needs to be. Just a moment of relief here with 23 above. Roman Redeploy also going to take a piece away with that soaring sprints, and again, Agers just barely managing to catapult himself to the front side of the zone, but this is a great opportunity now for him to just look for that reset. Looks to try and catch Rapid off guard, but it doesn't just work out in his favor.
Rapid by himself, down, so he's going to be a solo. There's actually 6 solos in the game as of now who lost their teammate. And they have to roll on their shoulders to try to make something out of this game. And Q and DX are going to be one of them. They're a full-on duo. They've been playing well so far in this game. 1 elimination. The rest is going to be placement points. But as this one goes on, those placement points are going to continue to rack up into the top 22.
By Rapid and Q&D. It's sneaky as well. Over here at the Brutal Bastion right now, looking to work his way through these builds. Only has this ice in the time to work with. The action lands the shots, gets the effects, but just keeps it moving instead. Doesn't want to stick around for too long. Doesn't want to risk the backup opportunity from some of these other duos. He just wants the tags. He just wants the damage because that's going to buy him more time.
I feel like I got all over again. Podesai solo going into the end game. He made something of it in that last go around. Can he repeat? 164 above the damage threshold as well. Not too much to worry about when it comes to that part of things. It's all about just staying alive. You don't want to run into the wrong duo, maybe one that's on the other side of that storm surge threshold. He knows so many other teams are below him. They're on top and everything. And look, this is almost like a repeat. Price and Chubbs on the high ground yet again. They said it's simple. They said it's easy, and they're ready to prove it be.
Nobody else is going to try and challenge Price. Price and Chubbs will be all too happy to take it. Rabbit gonna be one of the first to fall here. Clean elimination there for Price, and now both sides continuing trying to get back up with so much fire being applied to his build. He's down to just his last two remaining. He needs a refresh of some sort, but whether or not he's gonna be able to find it is a different question altogether.
16th place so far. When you reach top 10, the other half are in the top 10. Podesai's just trying to get as many as he can, but he goes down. That's Clicks. That's Epic Well on the elimination. Clicks gets knocked. Epic Well knows to try to go ahead without him, but a misplay on the bounce pad. He falls as well, but at least they got some points for their efforts. Consistency is keeping its Rangers out of Solo, who was able to find that elimination and keeping Kanata alive within contention of that top 25.
We're talking about consistency, and right now for Price and Chubbs, so far they're consistently holding on to that high PH Zen. Kito's trying to tarp through some of these secondary high layers. So far, haven't managed to counter it, but just yet Agers, though, breaks through the build that he doesn't want to find himself behind. That's going to be an elimination. Credit to Shalom is now PH Zen. Tries to tarp their way forward. Crash pad gets shot up on height, but it's not enough to actually break anything or knock down Price.
Yeah, but they're one of the few teams that sees what's going on above. They can easily try to make that a target if it's something they want to do. Quanti and TK, you heard him qualifying in that last game thanks to a big clutch by Quanti, trying to keep that show on the road. Reason goes down. Jan is trying to make up for it. Elimination's going to be found. Runs out of build, runs out of map. That's Noxy who's going to be able to take him down.
Quanti and TK, they seem to have found a slight gap. Nobody else quite discovering them just yet. PH Zen and Kito's, though, they've managed to make a resurgence for the high ground. Pixie and Cheatin down below on the opposite end of the spectrum. They're still forced to deal with some of the congestion that remains.
Price and Chubbs have a chance. Brute win from the high ground, win from the low ground as Pixie takes down PH Zen. Saving that siphon for later. Now it's going to come in handy. As soon as somebody else does, it's going to be TK who cleans that one up. Only one player here left as a solo. Quanti going around, goes for the high ground. That's Kito's the final solo. He dropped in the palm of his hands, but he dunks on him. Cheatin picks up that elimination onto TK. Quanti, top two situation with Cheatin and Pixie being our final duo left alive. Kito's on the other hand, using that early high ground to his advantage, but it only lasts for so long. Cheatin and Pixie take the game.
What a way to stay in victory royale. Cheatin and Pixie wasted absolutely no time with taking over the low ground. We've got Frankie standing by to get into the line.
I do. To be honest, that looked like quite a calm victory from you, Cheatin. How did it feel on the lobby today?
It's really nice. Like, we are full sec the whole game and just played it out.
Yeah, you did play it out. You almost made it look easy, but it's not easy to take a victory royale in front of a very loud crowd here in Copenhagen. How are the nerves right now?
Feeling a bit nervous, but it's fine.
So how did you control those nerves when you were in those final fights?
Yeah, we just went full low ground and just won the game.
Do you think that low ground is a strategy that can work for you all the way to Sunday?
I'm pretty confident that we are doing good on Sunday, so we just keep going.
Well, you're doing good right now. For you, how did you get ready for this experience of being on LAN?
We practice customs a lot and just play tournaments together, so yeah.
Any customs you'd recommend?
Noble.
Noble, there you go. Custom Noble, check it out. Guys, congratulations on making it this far. I do need to ask, do you think you can take another victory royale now you've already got one?
Yeah, 100%.
All right, well, I love the confidence. So, boys, I'll let you get ready for the next battle bus as we head back to the desk. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Frankie. Congratulations, Cheatin and Pixie on Victory Royale. Well, Vivid. That's an That's an EU team that's got a victory royale. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. And it's going to be on top. It's fine. How do you feel about that one, Mini Miner?
Feeling great. I mean, what a win. What a way to close it out. Really happy for these guys as well. Of course, qualifying to that last chance major. We haven't seen them yet this weekend. And now finally putting on a show. We know that this duo have what it takes. Going down on that logo. Backing out so many eliminations from these guys in those latter stages.
Yeah, I love this actually. Being so resourceful here is Pixie and Cheatin', right? Look at all of the splashes that they have somehow, by the way, managed to keep on to. And they're like, you know what? There's no reason for us to play this program. Why don't we just go ahead and play this tournament? Utilize. They did so at the perfect time. Ended up working out.
Yeah, it really did. And I love that. It's just the brain that they have. Just knowing, you know what? Let's get into that zone. Let's close out this game because PhD and Kito did a very, very good job there. Taking quite a great zone. Didn't quite work out for them getting second, but great job from Cheatin' and Pixie.
You talk about PhD and Kitos. I mean, I just want to take a moment here to highlight this duo. They take ultimate height here over ice. You can't build up there. You can't break. They're like, we're up here. I don't know what in the world Kito's is doing, okay? But did you all see that shot he landed? He's going to fall. Builds are broken. He's coming down. It's either me or him. And for him, it was him. He is him.
Yeah, I mean, hitting that falling charge. We see them sometimes throughout Fortnite competitive history, but that one had to be like the best one, right? He was literally falling, ended up surviving 1 HP, but the only reason he had enough HP to actually survive the fall is because he hit that shot, got that siphon.
So disgusting. Here are the standings as we take a look. Remember, if you're just joining us, we're looking for top 25. That's where we want to end the day. Chubbs and Bryce picked up game number 1 in the VR. But with Pixie and Cheatin' getting that one themselves, paired up with the elimination, suddenly up 13 places. Now, boys, how do we keep this momentum going?
High ground clearly is doing well. I mean, we're talking about Bryce and Chubbs right here. Taking high ground at a really nice moment. Again, this was another one of those zones that's actually closer to them. That forecast power in some of the games. This game is a very, very nice zone for them. We saw in the first game, it was not a very nice zone at all. So far away. So this just brings excitement for me when it comes to this duo because they've performed when the zone is absolutely miles away. And yet again, they've performed with that 3rd place finish right there. It's a really, really exciting duo if they can keep it up.
Yeah, they figured something out because every time I'm watching from like 5th and 9th zone, I'm like, oh my gosh, these zones, they just keep pulling further and further away. Which usually in this type of meta, they have to use all of their builds to actually make some of those rotations. But Bryce and Chubbs just seem like they're always in such a healthy position when it comes to how many materials they have. I have no idea how they're doing it, but it is working out great. And then obviously the transition into the height takes. So
what's crazy to me is after game 1, Bryce and Chubbs, you know, you could tell they were definitely nervous. It's a little bit overwhelming, but as we're playing out these games, man, they look so on form. I mean, if they can bring that tomorrow, how far could they take it?
I mean, hey, listen, you know, we've seen some teams already, particularly yesterday, I think they're pretty good at higher ground, so there, that'll be a tall task to try and tackle. We still got 3 more games to go through, though, so I'm excited to see who else maybe come up there.
Well, let's take a look at high ground. Kitos, we got to come to the Brazilian region to take a look at how this all unfolded, but from their own perspective. Once again, just disgusting play we are seeing. And what I love so much about the competition, boys, it's not just one duo. There's so much action across the map, so many duos all looking to perform.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at this duo right here, going for so many of these little pre-edit refreshes. That's how they were able to get, of course, the builds to go all the way up on high ground. You can see what it means to those guys. Closing out the victory, but they know exactly what happens when it comes to those end games. If you can consistently make 1 or 2 end games in this 5-game tournament, or this day, I should say, I mean, they're looking good for qualifying.
Fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. Guess what? We have Levin 2K. He is standing by. Let's see what he has for us.
Yes, Zeke, I am here in the arena with Nico himself. Nico, you've got to tell me, man, how you feeling, how you enjoying the event so far?
Hello, I'm very happy to be here. It's very good and I love them.
It's very loud. You can say that for sure. Tell me, who are you supporting for? Of course, you're representing MH, so you're supporting them. But tell me in particular who you're looking out for.
Of course, I support the best team in the world. Gentlemen, look this New Jersey, very beautiful, and the best crowd. Look at them.
They are the best crowd, it feels like right now. You've obviously had experience playing on stages like this as well in your career. You've competed at the highest level before. Do you have any advice for any players on this stage here right now?
I don't know, but I think no, just focus on yourself and your game, and that's it.
Advice for his favorite player. Everybody else, you know, he doesn't really care too much. Fair enough. And I guess the only thing for me is, do you have anything to say to the ultras?
なんかマークつけてる人がいるよ。行ってみよう。これ遊べるみたい。入れなかった。ここに来ないかな。やってくれないかな。あ、できちゃう。できてない。邪魔が出ない。ここに取れないみたいなけ。あ、入れて。あ、なんで？上に上がるのかな今。最後に行っちゃったのかな。きれいみたい。みたい。入れちゃう。あ、来た。ダメだ。西山シリーズ。なんか。までかね。落ちちゃった。これ。これ無理だ。こっちが行ってみよう。はい、もう終わっちゃう。見てみよう。
That just looks so awkward for Suns and Anon. Suns especially seemed as though they hit that hesitation for whether or not he should actually try to challenge up on that balcony. But hey, as far as Kenjutsu Crossing is concerned, that's not going to go Oshi's way in the slightest here. Opposite side of the map though, at Sanguine Suites, Peterbot and Byla recognizing the fact that they're under a little bit of pressure from that mountain just north of Brutal Bastion. And again, for Peterbot and Byla, you have to consider, Peterbot's been talking all week. Top 25, that's the easiest thing in the world. We're here in the lower bracket, and it's not looking that easy to actually actually be in the top 25.
Yeah, they've already pushed that one team off, trying to get Senguichi as their own.
I think so.どこに行った？あ、全然撃てない。味方だった。すごいな、ここ。体力いくつだろう。あ、ダメだった。以上戻っちゃう。戻って。オッケー。これ30分。本来は。3回続けてかな。無理やりやるがあるみたいで。昨日入れなかった。もらえないかも。これがもらえるみたい。見るじゃん。ボタンが。じゃあ、ここまでで終わりにしましょう。でも S、あ、違う。FNCSグローバルチャンピオンシップ世界大会こんな随一見に来ました。今何時だ？2時かもうすぐ。今日は深入音楽をやらないのでよろしくね。それじゃあまたね。ラビでした。Thank you。ぜひアーカイブで見た方はポチッと高評価ポチポチチャンネル登録よろしくね。それじゃあグッバー。